could remediate them. Also, cleaning work was done at the Prospect Dam. We have been notified by the DOH that that was a necessity, so we had that cleaned up. And we also had a meeting of the Forestry Council to highlight and make a list of trees down that came down during the storm or injured during the storm, so we can make a list of trees that need to be taken down because they're dead or so severely injured, highlighting places where we look forward to planting new trees, and locating as far as we can, as far as the funds will go, places that need dumping. We have had planned to do our annual planting of a tree for Arbor Day at the AUNP Church, but there was no room in their front lawn for an additional tree. Therefore, we'll be setting a program up that will take place in the beginning of May. I met with the principals representing the Water Authority. They are meeting with every community throughout the county, and I'll be giving you particulars when we have time to sit down at a work session, but it is their pitch to try to find a cooperative attitude. I told them, of course, I was always willing to learn and find out anything that would benefit our village, but their goal here is to try to find unions of cooperation, ostensibly. On further review, we'll see what our assessment is. I did read a very interesting comment from one of our fellow villages that was in the paper a couple of days ago that simply said, it's a lovely idea to make friends. However, we spend a lot of money finding our water sources, and right now we're developing through the use of our citizenry. I also had the honor of going to the 141st anniversary of the AUNP Church on Sunday, which was a glorious day, an absolutely glorious experience to be there. People were dynamic, the speakers were heartfelt, and it was a very proud moment to see members of the community come together to work and help the church so it could celebrate in the fashion that it wanted to. They had very nice things to say about our community. I was very proud to be there representing the village. And I'm even more delighted because Bill Krattinger, who is the representative of New York State Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation, with whom we worked when we were putting together 5 years ago, the citizenry applied to have, I think there were 46 houses and sites put on the State Historic Registry and then adopted by the Fed. And the church applied as well. And Bill Krattinger couldn't be there for the celebration, but he did make a point of writing a beautiful letter saying that it was being entertained. And Mayor Higgins very nicely gave to me the letter that he received that says that following detailed review, the State Review Board has recommended to the Commissioner of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation, that the property identified above, which is the Olivet Chapel, which is the AUNP Church, on the New York State Register of Historic Places and nominated to the National Register of Historic Places, which has been done. They have accepted their nomination. I can't wait to call. I was wondering about in the morning. That's fantastic. Aside from that, I did want to raise the issue of the village green. I think it's something that we need to talk about. And I think it is certainly, I would want the opportunity to be able to discuss it in front of the public and allow the public to raise questions that I know are concerning them. At 2 social events over the weekend, I spent a lot of time listening to questions about what's going on, and I think it's proper and appropriate for us to discuss it publicly. So I would first like to say that tell me when you want me to stop, John. The Presbyterian Church has come forward. Reverend Kingsley has been to a couple of work sessions here where it has been discussed. This issue has been discussed in the past. It was discussed when I sat as mayor as well. And there certainly is room for discussion, but difference of opinion as to who owns what we refer to as the church park, the area where the benches are on the sidewalk coming forward to the corner. It is always been the assertion of the village that this is on the tax maps belonging to the village and is under the purview of the village. The church is asserting that it is their property, and I feel it is exceedingly important for the village board and myself in our consideration to discuss and state that this is the center of our village. It is the focus and has been for over 100 years that it's on record as being under the name of the village, that it is the place of gathering, it is the focal point, it is that sets the tone and character for our village. It brings us together. It's where we share. It's where the farmers market is. It's where we have established ourselves as the heart of our community. That being said, I think that the concept of it being leased to us for a minimal fee, but not being owned by the village, and for us to sign over and do that is something that my immediate response is the same that my response was when we looked into this before, and the determination at that point of that village attorney and other village attorneys during those questioning periods was that we own it, it's under our purview, and that it should remain that way. At the very least, I think that there has to be an opportunity for the public to be able to entertain the questions and the concepts before we draw any conclusion.
Yeah, I would say, Trustee Matthews, you and I had a little opportunity to discuss this today and briefly last week as well. I have very serious concerns or conflicting documentation over who owns exactly what. And to explicitly acknowledge in a lease, and the church looking for a quitclaim deed for that matter, that the church absolutely owns it is not something I'm comfortable with at the moment. I haven't seen the conclusive proof as to who owns exactly what on that land.
Any other comments from board members? We discussed this with the church last week at a business meeting, and I instructed our attorney to draw up a lease on the proposals that were discussed. We have drawn up the lease. I didn't know there was this much concern about it at that time. I just thought, oh, okay, we'll do it. David, would it be proper to have a whole public hearing on this matter? Being that it's...
Proper is not something I have a lot to do with. I'm just a lawyer.
Legal.
I will tell you that it's not required.
Not required.
I will tell you if you want to do that, you can have a public informational meeting anytime you want. If you want to give the public the right to speak on this issue, you can schedule a meeting. That's certainly within the power of the board to do that.
Then I would request that we do so.
I think that's a good idea.
Well, let me make sure that I understand, and the interested folks that are here understand, what's the purpose of that meeting?
To see whether we want to go forward with the lease.
And then how do you decide is that the purpose of the meeting, to see if you want to lease the property?
I would think so. I always thought there was no issue involved. I thought we would just go ahead with the lease. It apparently seems to be some concern.
Well, let me just say, because I know there's going to be a lot of comment from the public. I don't know about any prior village attorneys, but we've got a village attorney that's been here for quite a while who was involved in this. My recollection of this is somewhat different than Trustee Matthews' recollection. I mean, clearly I think that piece of property, the title of that piece of property came from the King of England, my understanding, to the Presbyterian Church.
Well, I can speak to the facts, and the facts are these. The church received, I don't think from the king, I don't think it was from the king, I think the king gave it to someone else, and those other people gave it to the church. The church was created out of 1750, something along those lines. Thank you, 1720, on or about 1886, at the request of the then village board, church gave permission for the village to use a portion of that. Now, I don't see a legal description, but I think we can assume that is generally speaking where the Everett Monument is in that surrounding area. And that permission was given in 1886, and I think we may, I say we, using that as the village board, did ask for